I want you to think about the last person you dated, someone you trusted, someone you let into your life. Now imagine waking up at 3 a.m., reaching for your phone, reading a text from them that says, "Wake up," over and over and over again. And then, from inside the closet next to your bed, you hear a voice scream, "No." Tonight I have 3 real stories from people who trusted someone they never should have. And for all 3 of them, that trust almost cost them everything. When I was 22, I started seeing a guy I met on a dating app. His name was Hunter. I want to be clear about something before I start. At first, nothing about him seemed wrong. That's what makes this so disturbing. We went on 4 dates over a little more than a month. First date was coffee, less than an hour, more of a screening process than anything romantic. Second date was drinks at a bar. We both got a buzz. It was a nice time. Third date was dinner, and this was when something started to feel slightly off. Not dramatically wrong, just slightly off. The kind of feeling you talk yourself out of because you can't point to anything specific. The date ended with a kiss. The first and only time we ever kissed. I convinced myself that because I let it happen, things had gone well enough. Then came the 4th date. We went out for drinks again, but this time I went in with a different mindset. Less excited, more observant. I was paying attention in a way I hadn't before, and what I noticed made me quietly uncomfortable. Certain mannerisms, certain ways he'd look at me. Antisocial, slightly off. Hard to explain, but impossible to ignore once you see it. He started drinking too much. He got touchy, kept trying to kiss me at the bar with people sitting right next to us. I kept turning away and forcing a smile and wondering how soon I could leave without making things awkward. I mentioned I was tired. He got the check. We grabbed our coats and headed out. In the parking lot, he stopped me and flat out asked if we could go home together. I said I was tired and had work in the morning. That was a lie. He pushed back, said he'd drive me to work tomorrow. I felt something harden in me. That was the moment I knew I was never seeing him again. I got to my car and started driving home. I had a couple drinks in me, so I was driving slowly and staying alert. Maybe that's why I noticed it. The same car had been behind me through at least 3 turns. My eyes kept going to the rearview mirror. My hands got a little tighter on the wheel. At a stoplight, I looked properly. It looked like Hunter's car. I texted him, "Are you following me?" He replied almost immediately, "Yes, I just want to make sure you get home okay." I stared at those words and felt something cold move through me. I called him. He wouldn't pick up. I pulled over and texted him to stop, that I was fine, that he needed to go home. He stopped in the middle of the street. I assumed to read my message, then drove off. That night from bed, he texted, "Hope I didn't weird you out. Sorry I got so drunk. Next time let's do something more low-key. Dinner at my place." I didn't respond. The next morning, "Oh no, is the vibe dead?" 2 hours later, I took a breath and responded. Told him I'd had a great time getting to know him, but our personalities didn't click and I needed to focus on myself. The angry text started immediately. "No, I don't understand. You strung me along for 4 dates. Pay me back half of everything I bought you." I felt disgust and something close to fear mixing together in my chest. I blocked him. Then the no-caller ID calls started, over and over until they stopped. I thought it was over. I came home from work the next day to find flowers on the front step, and a card from Hunter, apologizing, asking for a second chance. The flowers looked pretty on the doorstep. I remember standing there staring at them, feeling absolutely sick. He somehow knew where I lived. I sent one final message warning him never to contact me again or come to my house, or I would file for a restraining order. I kept him blocked. I thought it was over. It wasn't. I was home alone for the night. Our house is big with a loft bedroom, the highest point in the house. I woke up in the middle of the night. I lay completely still, not sure what had pulled me out of sleep, just knowing something felt wrong. I listened carefully. Noises from downstairs. Then very clearly, unmistakably, a door opening upstairs. One of the upstairs doors. Nobody was supposed to be home that night. My entire body went cold. The word intruder formed in my mind before I had even fully woken up. I slid out of bed onto the floor and crawled under the bed. I called 911 silently. I texted my entire family. Then I heard footsteps. Distant at first, coming from one of the other bedrooms. Then my bedroom door opened. I pressed myself as flat as I could against the floor. My mouth was dry. I could feel my heartbeat everywhere. The room was fully carpeted. I couldn't hear footsteps, just silence. Then the drawer next to my bed opened. Then another one. I clamped my hand over my mouth to muffle my breathing. My whole body was shaking so hard I was terrified he would feel the vibration through the floor. A man's voice, low, under his breath. God damn it. My stomach dropped completely, because in that moment I thought, wait, that voice, that sounds like Hunter. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I stared straight ahead at the bed skirt. Then the bed shifted. He sat down. On my bed, directly above me. I cannot describe to you what that felt like. To be lying underneath your own bed in the dark, listening to someone sit down above you, knowing they have no idea you're there. He sat there for over 2 minutes. Every second felt like something I had to survive. Then he got up, closed the drawers, walked back downstairs. A door shut, footsteps faded. Silence. I let out a breath so slowly and so carefully that I barely knew I was doing it. I stayed under that bed for another 15 minutes before I moved. When the police arrived, they found every window unlocked. The dining room window, large enough for someone to crawl through, right behind the bush out front. I gave the police my statement, gave them the text screenshots where he admitted to following me. Without solid proof he was the one inside the house, the case lost steam. But I got the restraining order. And from that day until the day I moved out of that house, I never stopped checking the windows. I was in 6th grade when this started. It was Halloween week. I was staying after school to help decorate a haunted house for the school carnival. I remember genuinely loving that time of year. The decorations, the free pizza for helping, hanging around with friends after school. There was a kid who also stayed late. I'll call him Chris. We got along fine during those after-school sessions. Funny kid, cool enough. He never once made me feel uneasy, until 2 weeks later. A group of girls in my grade came running up to me with wide grins on their faces. They told me I had a secret admirer, and that he would be texting me that night. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't at least curious. That night a message came through on Facebook Messenger from Chris. It said, "Maya, I need to talk to you." I felt a small drop of unease but replied anyway. The typing bubbles appeared, and stayed there, for 2 full minutes. I stared at that screen for what felt like forever, watching those 3 dots pulse on and off. When his message finally came through, I wished immediately that I had never replied. In a long paragraph, he confessed that he was in love with me, that I had been driving him crazy since Halloween, that he had been trying to impress me at recess with his soccer skills, but I never seemed to notice him. Then, "I'm growing tired of being ignored." And finally, "I want you to notice me. Will you be my girlfriend?" I read those words and felt genuinely unsettled. Not flattered, not embarrassed, unsettled. The "growing tired of being ignored" line sat wrong immediately. I let him down as gently as I could. Said I didn't like him that way, wanted to be friends. He didn't accept it, kept asking why, over and over until he eventually went quiet. The next morning his friends started approaching me, telling me Chris wanted to kiss me, that he had told the entire grade he was going to do it, and that he would, even if it meant cornering me. That single word landed like ice water. Cornering. I went straight to my teacher. She told me to stay inside during recess and lunch, that if he came near me to run back to the classroom. I went to the principal as well. I thought that would be enough. It wasn't. A few days later I walked home from school. I lived directly across the street. I had barely been inside 2 minutes when someone knocked on the front door. I peeked through the window, saw someone duck behind a parked car across the street. My stomach turned over slowly. My mom opened the door to find a note on the floor, addressed to me. It said there was a surprise waiting under my brother's Cadillac in the driveway. My mom went to look. Nothing was there. But shortly after that day, my brother's car stopped working completely. We still don't know what Chris did to it. The harassment kept escalating, his friends pressuring me daily. And then one afternoon I felt the faint click of an iPhone camera behind me. I turned around just in time to see Chris lowering his phone. I felt physically ill. How many photos did he have? How long had he been doing this? I reported everything. Finally got called to the counselor's office. And what she told me next is something I still cannot believe. She told me boys will be boys, that they do crazy things when they're in love, that I should feel flattered, that I should accept it and learn from it. I sat there in that office at 11 years old being told that a boy threatening to corner me was a compliment. I didn't have the words to explain why that was wrong. I just felt something hollow open up in my chest. My mom found out. She showed up to that school and said to that counselor and principal word for word, "What are you waiting for? For something bad to happen to her before you do something?" They stayed silent. Chris never got punished. Not by the school anyway. But the worst moment hadn't happened yet. One weekend night my parents had gone shopping. I was about to go to sleep. Then something hit my window. I'm on the second floor. I sat up in bed completely still. It happened again, then again. Consistent, rhythmic, something hitting the glass. My heart was slamming by the time I got up the courage to go look. I pulled back the curtain and looked down. Chris was standing in my yard, looking directly up at my window, holding a handful of rocks. I felt my legs go weak underneath me. He was about to throw another when he saw me looking. I could see his lips moving. I didn't stay to read them. I checked every lock in the house. Then 4 messages came from Chris. "Why did you leave? I just want to talk. I'm sorry. All I wanted was a kiss. Please forgive me." Then, "You are not who I thought you were. Bye." I blocked him. I had to see him in the hallways from 6th grade all the way through senior year. The last thing I ever heard about Chris was that he was arrested.
3 stories. 3 people who trusted someone. 3 people who said goodbye to someone and meant it. Trust your instincts. When something feels slightly off about someone, it usually is. When someone makes you feel like you need to apologize for having boundaries, you don't. And always check the closet before you go to sleep. My name is the Cursed Owl. Stay safe out there.